Perfect. So today I am here with Dale. Dale is the communications director at Neighborhood Church, and it is in Visalia, California. So really excited to have him on here. It's Dale Best. And so, Dale, I'm curious, like what called you into ministry? Like what's your story? How did you find your way into ministry and specifically at Neighborhood Church?
Yeah, so I didn't grow up in a church home. My parents weren't Jesus people, but
Mhm.
there was a pastor who lived down the street from us, who was
Mm.
him and his family. Even before I became a Christian, before I became a Jesus follower in high school, I like childhood was a bit splintered. I didn't have a great relationship with my parents. I had a big imagination, large amounts of curiosity. I read all the time, more when I was a kid than I have time to do now. But um, this is interesting. When I was a kid, I loved magic and illusion, right? Doing
Mhm.
card tricks
Yeah.
and magic tricks and things like that. And that came from, I watched David Copper. I remember David
Yeah.
Copperfield's TV specials on
Uh,
TV when I was a kid. And the thing that drew me to David, and I would record them on a VCR and watch them over and over. But he was so different than the rest of than other magicians because he wove story into what he was doing. Every TV special that he did was like it was the journey to see if he had it in him to accomplish this, this
mhm.
amazing escape, or if he could fly on the stage and all that. And so
Yeah.
so yeah, so just being a fan of magic and illusion, it stirred up in me a ton of imagination and curiosity. And so as I became an adult, um, the faith that I was handed at the small little Baptist independent fundamental church that I grew up in didn't last into my adulthood. I went through a
Mhm.
deconstruction process in my mid 20s, but I came out on the other end of that with, the firm foundation that Jesus is the center of my life. And, my wife and I met my wife in my mid 20s. We moved out here to California, and the church that we became a part of out here, which is the one I'm serving at now. They call themselves we're a Jesus centered church, and we're hooking people on to the idea that it's Jesus that we follow. It's him who we take our marching orders from, and yeah, so a lot of imagination and curiosity as a kid, and that's just yeah, ignited a love of story and imagination and curiosity that I have like as an adult. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, yeah, appreciate the insights there, Dale. And going into it's really cool. There are a couple of threads to pull on. So, one, yeah, making a decision. It sounds like as a kid, proactively to start following Jesus, and then again as an
Mhm.
adult. Those are not easy decisions for someone to make, especially if they're maybe not used to church or maybe have a different image of what church is. So, I'm curious, like when it comes to being a communications leader at your church, how does kind of your experience from deciding and getting to know Jesus, how does that affect the way you maybe want to reach those people today and meet them where they are when they're approaching neighborhood church?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a Jesus follower, it's putting on, you know, following Jesus's lead and putting like leaning into that sense of compassion and
Mhm.
empathy that he leads with. And if you're leading with compassion and empathy, you're gonna have this bent towards thinking about things that are happening in your church through the lens of an outsider, right? New people are going to be showing up into, to your congregation, to your church on a weekly basis. And um, if you have, if you have the lens on that, all right, these are the things that they may be thinking about. These are the questions that they may want to ask. And you're making decisions based on guiding and helping people towards that decision that ultimately you're wanting them to make. It
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's made easier. So yeah, just leaning into compassion and empathy and being a great listener, and being willing to make adjustments to how you're doing something based on how it lands with someone who may not be a part of the church.
Oh yeah, could not agree
Yeah.
more there, Dale. And that really ties into the story. You mentioned a lot of you leaned on your creative prowess because that helps us use story to communicate better with folks new to our church, with folks maybe who've been in our church a long time. And that brings me to a topic we were talking about of story brand. So we're both fans of this book. So Story Brand, building a story brand by Donald Miller.
Mm.
And as you were mentioning, like if y'all are interested, would definitely recommend getting the book.
Mhm.
Also, I think you said Donald's company, like, cause you like they have coaches, right, and stuff like that.
Yeah, they train people. There's like a story brand coaching process that anyone can go. You can go to their
Mm-hmm.
company and be like, I want to be a certified story brand coach. And that
Mm-hmm.
just they basically lead you through Donald's content, that things that him and his company have developed, so that you can be a consultant for and a coach for businesses, for nonprofits, for churches and whatnot. But they have a whole coaching network, a consultant network of these I'm not one, but I've read the book through and I have it on my desk all the time. And but yeah, so I would definitely get the book and reach out to Storybrand if you want to learn more. So
Absolutely, yeah, because it is a great book. It's helped us connect better with our partners at Playlister, and and I were talking about ways you use it to connect with folks at neighborhood church, and we were talking about a few points, a few big ideas from the book. And the book is like
mhm.
it's written for it's like perspective of a business person, so use words like maybe customer, where no, we can just change the word and the message is the same. So I'll use kind of the story brand lingo, but it talks about positioning the customer as a hero. So what does that really mean to you, Dale?
Yeah, it means that as a church, I'm not the hero, right? I'm not
Mhm.
positioning myself uh as the person that's trying to like figure
Yeah.
something out. That like our role as church leaders is to come alongside and be the guide for the person who's searching for meaning, or the person who's trying to overcome
Mhm.
something in their life that's complicated. And so yeah, the customer, I don't like to use the word the customer. Of course, we're dealing with church. I love the word audience, right? I have
Mhm.
experience in radio. I was in radio
Oh,
ministry
awesome.
for a decade before I got into the church world. And so our audience were just our listeners, the people who would turn on the station. But yeah, your audience, the people who are coming in and taking next steps, they're the people whose lives are complicated and messy. And it's our job as a church to position ourselves with empathy and with authority, that we have the knowledge and we can broker the relationships and the resources to help people take next steps towards Jesus.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, communicating with the audience that are, maybe newcomers to your church, maybe people have been a member of your church for a while, and getting them to take those next steps with Jesus is so important. And and it comes down to Storybrand talks a lot about, hey, how can we really communicate our promise concisely? So, like, what ideas and tips do you have in your experience for how you can kind of communicate concisely to the one, meet people where they are with, like, hey, here is how our church can help you.
Yeah, all of this involves a process that you're going to have to like work through with your lead pastor, your executive pastor, whoever,
Hmm.
whatever your leadership team looks like. But I think that when people are checking out your church, people from your community are checking out your church for the first time, they're either going and checking out your social media, Instagram or Facebook, and they may make their way to the website. Um, you know, Different studies and different experts out there will tell you it's one or the other. But whether it's your Instagram, profile, like your bio and your profile, or if it's the headline on your front page, you need to let people know like what's in it for them when they come, and help them understand that the predicament that they're in. And so rather than saying something like, serving, we serve Jesus and people for for our city or whatnot. It's letting people know, hey, life's complicated and life's messy. We know you want to get it right, and we want to help. The headline on the front of our website, we're a for church, which means we if you come to our church, we're all about being for our city, for Visalia. You'll see for
Yeah.
stickers on cars all over, all over our city, folks who are connected to our church. And just the posture that we take is that as a church
Mhm.
family, we're here for our city, and we're here for the people in it. We know God is for you. A lot of people in may know what the church is against, but we want to position ourselves as being known for what we're for. So we're for Visalia, and we're for you. And so on the headline at the top of our website says, "Here for you, God is for you. You don't have to navigate life alone. God is for you, and we are too." And so hopefully that kind of whets their appetite into maybe taking a next step into attending, attending on a weekend, or smashing that like or that follow button. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, gotta smash the like and follow button. But yeah, it's like, hey, if you're in communications, it's impossible not to say that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, I really like that idea, and I appreciate you kind of sharing. Hey, how do you, in practice, how have you communicated that message on your website? So yeah, that's spectacular. And with that, let's talk about the website for a minute, because the website is really like most people's first impression of your church. Like, I mean, maybe they'll see it if they drive by it or something, but maybe if they're invited, or if a friend is like, hey, here's my church, you should come and check it out. That website's that first impression. We were kind of talking earlier about how it's so critical, and Storybrand makes this point. Show really what a relationship with Jesus does. So not like pictures of your church building or something, more of, hey, are
Hmm.
you showing pictures of people really kind of in flow in worship, or people
Hmm.
really building up relationships in the community with other people at the church? So I'm curious, how have you kind of designed your website and messaging to really communicate that to your audience?
Yeah, so we're if you go and you look at our socials, we're very photo oriented. Like we throw a lot of, I mean, we have things that we promote, events and things like that, but you'll see a lot
Mhm.
of photo carousels on our Instagram, and we have our Instagram feed directly on our homepage. But above the fold of the website, which just means the section that you're going to see of the website before you begin to scroll down, we have a video reel in the background that shows
Mm.
highlights of what a Sunday morning experience is. And I think one of the first questions that someone who is new is going to be thinking about when they're thinking about possibly coming on a Sunday is the question, will I fit in? And
Mm.
if they go to a website, to your church's website, and you don't have any photos of the worship experience, of the community that's happening, outside, out in the lobby, or outside. In our case, it's outside because we're in California.
Yeah.
Before and after the services, they may be like, man, I don't know what this place is like. I don't think I'm going to come and visit. And so on our website, you're going to see photos of community,
Mhm.
of church life, of what the worship experience is, and so that they know when they come, these people don't look crazy, and I think I'm going to feel welcome. The second that I walk in the door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that is so important. And yeah, will I fit in? You mentioned Dale. That's one of the questions people have when they're visiting a new church. So I'm curious, what are some of the other important questions you've thought of and try to kind of think of ahead of time in order to communicate better?
Yeah, I think some other questions that people are thinking about are, who's in charge at the church, and are they
Mhm.
trustworthy? So, do you
Mhm.
have, pictures of the staff, and, bios to let people know, right, here's who the leaders are, and
Mhm.
here's their experience, and here's what their family life is like. I mean, you can't turn on, the internet or TV without a story about, a church leader that has failed
Mhm.
or made a mistake, and they're not in charge anymore. And so I think doing what you can to generate a sense of trustworthiness in people before they even step foot onto your campus, I think is important. So who's in charge, and are they trustworthy? I think that people are asking, especially if you're trying to find families, especially if your church is serving families in your community, they're going
Mhm.
to be asking, what's in it for my kids, right? Do you have photos of your kids' environments? Do you explain um, how kids can get checked into to an experience, to your service?
Mhm.
Um, do you have on your website a plan posted for how you're going to protect kids when a parent
Mhm.
hands them over to staff for an hour, each Sunday? And then, yeah, and then again, pictures of those environment, pictures of kids having fun and all that. So, I think that's a
Mhm.
question that people are asking. And I think another question is, what is it that we're asking folks to do when they come to the website for the first time? Are we asking them to come and visit? Do we want them to fill out some sort of digital connect card? So that call to action from the
Mhm.
outset um, uh, is super important to communicate to people above the fold on the homepage of the website.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Those are all very important, and it's really cool deal because you kind of touched on like, hey, we operate almost like a symphony as a church, okay? Because communications, communicating, the kids ministry, creating those engaging, safe environments, the
Hmm.
leadership having great messaging, great trust, everyone
Hmm.
in IT and elsewhere making it happen. The dream team, the volunteers, the serve team. So yeah, we all come together, we make it happen. And like you said at the end, like the CTA, put it above the fold. So like a technical
Hmm.
thing is like put it before anyone has to scroll on anything. Make sure your audience can read, hey, what is the hero line on here that makes them feel like the hero, and then a button they can click to take their next step above the fold. And they'll read it in an F pattern. So they like scan down this half of the screen and then they go this way. So yeah, don't want to get too far into web design because I know, especially with the hex colors behind you, we'll get on a deep rabbit
Those are my
hole.
sports. Those are my sports teams right there. So
Oh yeah, is that the Royals, the blue one behind you,
no,
or?
this is the Tennessee Volunteers.
Uh-huh.
This right here is the Atlanta Braves. Chop on.
Okay,
This is the
absolutely.
Titans, the Tennessee Titans, and
Gotcha.
then the Nashville Predators. So those are my four big sports teams.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So, yeah, I always forget the volunteers are called the volunteers. But
Yeah, the Vols. Yeah.
oh yeah, shout out to Knoxville there. So, yeah, well, that's really awesome deal. We touched a lot on ways Storybrand and just some other great advice for communicating to your audience at your church and in your community. And so, I want to shift gears a bit. Like, what are some of the short term and long term goals you are focused on at Neighborhood Church?
Short-term goals. Short-term goals, if we're talking like things that I want to do between now and we're recording this in at the end of June. So between now and the
Hmm.
end of the year, the end of the calendar
Yeah.
year. So I came on staff at my church about a year ago. And this is
Awesome.
my second stint at Neighborhood Church. I was here from 2012 to 2018, and we moved
Okay.
out to the Midwest and we just came back. And so I'm kind of getting
Mm-hmm.
reacclimated and relearning the church family and the church culture. So,
Yeah.
I'm fairly new to our staff. So, if I'm thinking about a short-term goal, I had a conversation at lunch today with our discipleship pastor, and we were talking through some strategy for how we want to update and change our website and do email segmentation and the tools that we want to use for that. So I think it's getting all of that updated. I think between now and the end of the year, those are kind of some big short-term goals. Long-term goals over the next 2 to 3 years for our church, we have a strong relationship, 15 plus years going with an elementary school in a low
Mm-hmm.
income part of our town. It's called
Yeah.
Houston Elementary.
Okay.
And our involvement in that community and the school that's there, we've developed a relationship with the parents whose kids attend that school. Um, that's that's moved from helping that school build a PTA, putting a park in. We cut the ribbon on a park in the neighborhood
Awesome.
next to the school about 8 years ago. And about a year and a half ago, our church helped launch a separate nonprofit called neighborhood degree. And neighborhood degree um, works alongside the kids who go from that elementary school to middle school and into high school. And it helps those
Mhm.
kids graduate high school with a plan to continue either their education or figure out what sort of vocational thing they're going to take a step into next. And this past spring, the third or fourth round of graduates came through neighborhood degree.
Mhm. Wow.
And so we've graduated through that program. We've graduated 60 or 70 kids
Cool.
over the last few years, and then we're going to break ground a little bit later this year with the goal of cutting the ribbon and moving into a brand new community center in that
Mhm.
neighborhood that's adjacent to the school and the park that's already there. Um, and so just continuing to build the relationship and get that community center built and all of the communication needs that go along with the nonprofit and whatnot. We're really as a next chapter in our church. This is kind of the next, big, hairy, audacious goal that we're going after in terms of our church. It's a really cool story. So yeah,
Sweet. Yeah, well that's awesome. So congratulations and really excited as you break ground there, get going for what's ahead because it sounds like there are great things to come there with the degree program. And yeah, you really truly are for Visalia. And so I appreciate you sharing so much. And I know
thanks.
a lot of people will benefit from the insights you shared today, Dale. I'm curious just what other advice would you give to ministry leaders?
I would say that, man, positioning yourself in a place where you're learning all the
Mhm.
time, I think is new. I mean, culture is changing. Being a student of culture, being a student of people,
Mhm.
position yourself to be a learner of people and a great listener, and you're gonna succeed at whatever um, you know, at whatever you step into. Become a really good question asker, right? Ask
Mm,
really good
mhm.
questions of the people that you work with and the people that you're trying to serve. Um, don't go into meetings knowing that, I think this is entry level things, but it's taken me a lot. I've gone through seasons in life where I struggle with pride and struggle with
Mhm.
thinking that, all right, I think I have the best idea because I'm good at ideas, right? Ideation is a strength of mine. But I think if you just become really good at asking questions of people, which Jesus was really good at
Mhm.
doing, man, you're going to position yourself to succeed in whatever meeting, whatever room you're inside of. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, could not agree more there, Dale. And yeah, we are always learning, always asking, always helping, always serving. So, yeah, appreciate the insights, and as always, excited for what's ahead.
Hey, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
You got it.